All right, and we're back after a 2 week hiatus, or I guess a week and a half, with after our mock draft videos. We had a technical difficulty last week. We recorded a pre-draft preview of for Sooners prospects, and unfortunately, sound was not captured. By the time we realized the draft was getting ready to happen, and we didn't have time to record another one, so we missed out. But in this episode, we've got a jam-packed show. It's been a little while since we've come out with a new video. We're going to do a draft recap now, even though we were supposed to have a preview, and then an update on a couple new Oklahoma football commits. Um, Porter Moser filling out his coaching staff, and an update in some of the transfers that Oklahoma is targeting for their basketball program with their one scholarship left. And we'll just start it off. I think with the most recent stuff, it will be the NFL draft, and with the highest pick in the draft for the Sooners anyway was a second round pick by the Chiefs of Creed Humphrey. Jose, what's your takeaway there? Do you like the spot?
Yeah, obviously we would hope that Creed got to be in a situation where he was just a plug and play situation. He got to start from day one. But I think for the long term of his career, he's going to get some jewelry here pretty soon. He's going to probably start year two. Austin Blythe was signed this offseason, but it was only a 1 year contract. So I don't think that they expect to re sign him if they just drafted Creed. They're probably just going to, develop Creed this year, get Creed up to speed, probably want him to beef up a little bit, even though he's a pretty big guy already. I'm sure that they're going to want to put a little muscle on him to be able to handle those NFL nose tackles. Because Aaron Donald's not going to be, some D tackle from Kansas State. You got to be
No.
prepared to get him. So, overall, pretty good spot for him. He'll definitely be the first Sooner, I think, to get some jewelry at the NFL level.
Yeah, and I think he, like you said, most likely he'll start not this season but the 2022 season. But I could see him starting this fall. I really think Andy Reid's going to come in, and they're going to have an honest competition. They've got a guy that they've paid nearly $500 million to, or they've committed $500 million to Mahomes, and they're going to play the best center. And for Creed, coming from a place where he's never given up a sack, maybe I read that wrong, but I'm pretty sure he never gave up a sack in his career at Oklahoma. And that has to count for something. But like you said, it wasn't NFL talent that he was going against every week, but there were some nose tackles he was guarding against, and it'll be interesting to see. I like the spot. We in our preview, I know we kind of picked some other teams that we thought had more of a pressing need, but I could see this being the long-term solution that the Chiefs were needing. They after the Super Bowl incident, they realized that they had to protect Mahomes if they want a chance to win it.
Yeah.
They went out and got Creed, signed Blythe, Joe Tooney, traded for Orlando Brown, which, I guess that's another little tidbit Oklahoma football wise. We've got two guys on the Chiefs O line that might be starting, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
I don't think Orlando's going to get a contract just yet, but maybe sometime this season or right after this season, he might get a big extension with the Chiefs. But no, I think it's good. I think he's going to excel. And like you said, he's got a great shot to win some championships, or at least AFC championships for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and real quick before I move off Creed,
Mhm.
I think Creed will get not only provide depth for him, but he'll probably get to switch between center and guard. They're starting, believe it's their right guard. Duvernay Tardif just came back
Mhm.
after taking a year off, so you got to expect him. He's probably a little rusty, out of shape. Creed's just coming off of a college season, so he might even get to play some right guard snaps if the guy needs some rest. Probably doesn't
Yeah.
if they don't want to start him right off of the bat, or maybe even Creed beats him out. Who knows how that situation will work. But yeah, I think that he'll get his opportunity. Definitely has a chance to get some snaps in the fall.
Yeah, and he's a good enough athlete where he can play that interior O line, whether it's left guard, center, or right guard. So it'll be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see. Then the next highest, which I was surprised to see him fall, as far as he did. But Ronnie Perkins, I mean, I'm excited. That's my team, and I think we're getting a great value in the late third round for Perkins. I think he's going to be coming off the edge. We're not going to be expecting him to do a whole lot in year one with the depth we've got now off the edge. Um, but I mean, a guy that's that versatile, Belichick seems to really enjoy those types of players. And I don't think Belichick really expected him to be available that late in the third round. And it was just one of those deals where he took the best available player. I mean, what was your biggest takeaway?
I was really annoyed for the entire third round. I'm a Vikings fan, so I didn't expect us to. I wanted us to trade into the second round, like late second round, and get him with maybe like a Tampa Bay pick or something, because we had the second pick in the third round. It's just a quick swap, maybe add like a fourth or fifth for Tampa to swap with us, but we didn't, obviously. And then we ended up taking Patrick Jones in the third instead of Ronnie Perkins. I think it was like 2 or 3 picks right before you guys took Ronnie.
Mm-hmm.
Very disappointed in that regard, but I think Ronnie's in a really good situation. Bill Belichick, you know, those Patriot defenses aren't. They're not going to shy away from getting to the backfield. And Ronnie, in that lost episode that we didn't get to post because of the audio, I went through, those highly rated prospects at defensive end, and he was one of the most productive prospects, even though he wasn't touted as a first round talent. He has a physical ability. He's still very young, 21 years old, and he was, again, the most productive out of the, comparing him to those guys that went in the first round, especially the guy that went to the Saints. So that one makes no sense. No
No.
disrespect to that guy, but I feel like the Saints definitely reached there. They didn't have many draft picks overall, so I think they were just kind of, going for the guy that they really wanted overall. But they probably could have traded down to get him, in complete honesty. But yeah, I think Bill Belichick, if he doesn't get to play this year, he'll definitely get to play at some point, and he's going to find his way into the backfield.
Yeah.
Hit the quarterback, get some tackles for loss.
Yeah, I could see him playing, 10 to 15 snaps a game this fall. So, which will be exciting. And, with Belichick, is if you're producing, he doesn't care if you're a rookie or a 10-year veteran, he's going to play him. So if Perkins plays well and, the little bit of time he might get in the beginning of the season, Belichick will start playing him more. And it'll be interesting to see. But I'm excited about that. And then we'll go right to the next Patriot, Romandre Stevenson, in round 4. I mean, Patriots loading up with Alabama and soon, and Oklahoma players. And I mean, with Stevenson, I expected it. I expected us to take a running back. Not necessarily Stevenson, but he reminds me of LeGarrette Blount. And when LeGarrette Blount was there and was running up the middle, and even before Blount, we had Jonathan Gray, which was a kid out of Notre Dame. They're just a bigger back, and it was just bully ball. And I think Belichick really liked it, and I think that's why we have 2 tight ends now. But it was also because we didn't pick up Sony Michel's 5th-year option. He's been having knee issues staying on the field, and it just he'll be there this year, and then he's going to be gone after this. And Stevenson's is going to provide a lot of great depth, and he's going to bring he's going to be a good change of pace back. And like we were talking about in the lost episode that we had, I thought Stevenson would have fit well in Carolina for that same reason, as a change of pace back, behind McCaffrey. But now behind Damien Harris, I think it's going to be great for him. What were you thinking, Jose?
Yeah, I think this pick out of all the Sooner picks, I think was probably made the most sense. Where he ended up getting picked and where he got picked to. The Patriots like to run a stable of running backs. Again, frustrating situation because we picked a running back literally right before you guys got Romandre, and we decided to take Breece Hall's backup, not over a guy that actually started, in his last year in college. But going back to Romandre, he's in a great situation. Whenever you just said, reminds you of LeGarrette Blount, I thought the exact same thing. He's just a bruiser that they'll probably use red zone situations when Damien Harris is either, gassed from potentially taking a long, getting a long run to get into red zone, or if they're just trying to switch up paces to see which running back's hot for the day, I think Romandre is going to get a lot of chances to get in the end zone this year.
And one last thing about him, another reason why I think Belichick also really liked him, and I didn't even think about this before the draft, was Stevenson can play special teams. And I think with his ability to play special teams, he's going to be a threat to Sony Michel's being an active for game days. I think he could get starting over him, or at least be active. He might not be the starting running back, but because he can contribute on special teams, on kickoff and whatnot, I could see him taking Michel's spot pretty quick.
Yeah, and they don't really have. He hasn't produced even when he's healthy. He doesn't really, when he runs the ball, maybe gets a yard or two. If he catches the ball out of the backfield, he gets lucky to get 5 or 6 yards. So I don't think Bill Belichick is sold on him. He's kind of just like you said, there for the year because he's under contract, but he won't be coming back to New England after this.
Yeah, and his best run was the 2018 playoff run. He was awesome then, but outside of that, this is going into his 4th year. The 3 years he's been there, he's had one really good stretch, and that's about it. But moving on, Trey Norwood, which was the last draft pick for the Sooners. Kid played well for us, and I hope he makes the team. And Mike Tomlin did call him the Swiss Army knife. He might be moved around. He might play a little special teams. I'm not sure. He might make the team. He was pretty good for us last year. I mean, what are you thinking?
So we don't want to forget about Trey Brown.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
But real quick with Norwood, when he got picked, it was the 7th round, so I gave up watching. But I saw the clip of him getting picked, and Tomlinson was the one that announced it. And obviously he was probably, asked to do it because, the 7th round is when the GMs, coaches, and people on staff start announcing picks. But he called him a utility player, a Swiss Army knife kind of guy. So I think if he goes in and just shows that he's going to work hard and focus on, be part of the Steeler culture, then he has a good chance of at least making the team. I don't know where he's going to play. They have a lot. Their defense is great. It's pretty stacked, especially all over the DB area. He might get to play a little bit on the inside if they trust him, but he'll probably just be someone that's depth. If anyone gets hurt, he might get to some snaps at safety, just because he's kind of, he's a pretty smart guy, has good ball skills. Obviously, he was always a guy for the Sooners that was either there to break up the pass or get some picks. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got moved to being a safety in the NFL level.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I don't know how I forgot Trey Brown, but Trey, Tulsa Union product, great. He was longtime starter, fast, athletic, and he's a little undersized, but he plays with a lot of heart, and he's going to be able to compete for a starting job. You've got is it Shaquille
just left.
Shaquille just left. I keep forgetting. Shaquille just left for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Seahawks were horrible. And to give credit to Brandon, even though the video has been lost, Brandon did state that he thought the Seahawks would draft him. He did think the 3rd round, but he did pick the Seahawks to draft him. So, which I thought the Patriots might have been candidates to take him. So I was just off with which Sooner was going to be a Patriot. Other than that, I think if he can just learn to play a little bit against bigger receivers, I think he's gonna be able to start. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, I think he'll probably get to start. They don't really have, their defense hasn't been great since the Legion of Boom broke up. They ran through so many corners. Shaquille was really their only constant. Trey Flowers was there for a year. I don't even know who played number 2 corner for them last year. But yeah, I think he'll definitely get a chance. He'll get a chance to start. He's super fast, so he'll probably be covering the fastest guy on the field at any given play. Definitely, I would expect him to be staying on the outside. He's not really thick enough to be competing on the inside for slot corner. But we'll see how it goes. But I think being in Seattle it's going to be working. It's going to work out for him, hopefully. And then being under Pete Carroll, it's not a bad place to land.
Yeah,
as
and
a
and
DB.
he wouldn't be a bad candidate for a punt returner role if they ever take that away from Tyler Lockett.
Right.
So,
Which
you
they
know,
might. I mean, he's getting older. You want to save him for when Russ needs to throw him the ball, not when he has to return a kick or just call a fair catch. Don't want
yeah.
to put a guy like that in danger.
Yeah, and I mean, and the last guy, last Sooner that has been picked or signed would be Adrian Ely with the Ravens, which, the Ravens seem to love the Sooners. I know they got rid of Orlando, but there's quite a few Sooners that have played for them or are currently on the roster. Um, I hope he can stick on make the team. You never know. He played well for us, but he might be a training camp guy to watch, and he might be able to make the team. That's all I really got. I mean, other than I'm pulling for him, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out for him.
Yeah, for a guy like Ely, I think at this point he just needs to work his butt off. And then just those 3 preseason games that are coming back, just take advantage of the time you get to play. Because if you don't get signed by Baltimore or even on their practice squad, maybe you show something that someone that needs depth at tackle or guard is going to want
Yeah,
to sign you right after the preseason getting cut from Baltimore potentially.
for sure. I'm glad that preseason's coming back. I feel like a lot of kids didn't get an opportunity to showcase their skills, and maybe are not on an NFL roster right now because of it. There's always a few that pop up. But other than that, do you have anything else to say about the recap of the draft? And then if not, we'll move on.
Nothing about the Sooners. Just still sticking with the Bengals are morons, and that Joe Burrow is just going to retire after signing a huge extension in 5 years because they hate winning football.
Yeah, I mean I don't know, but I tell you what, the Lions. That doesn't surprise me taking Sewell to protect Goff, and then I think the Chargers got a great value in Slater, the Northwestern kid. Um, to protect Herbert. Herbert needed a little bit of protection, and we'll see. So we'll move on. We've had over the past week, we've had a couple football commits for us. We'll start off with Jaden Roe, which is another Tulsa Union, Oklahoma product, 3-star corner, and he's long, rangy, and very raw as far as his talent. Jose, what's your initial takeaway with him?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's a big human being. For being 18 years old, he's 6'3",
Mm-hmm.
210. I mean, I wish I was 6'3", 210 right now, and I'm 25 years old. But that guy is an athlete. I think the big thing, like you said, he's very raw. He's got the athleticism to be successful at any level of playing football. He just has to work on his skills as a DB fundamentals. Watching his highlights, he was obviously just overpowering the receiver he was covering. He had good instincts to get inside when he was playing. It looked like he got to play a little bit of a safety. Maybe he was definitely getting in the box there, but when he was rushing the quarterback or trying to get in the backfield for tackle for loss, I mean, his size obviously in high school football is going to make it a lot easier, but he'll definitely need to be working a lot with Grinch and the DB coach to work on his ball skills, because even though the competition, he'll probably be playing with people more his size, so and he might still be able to overpower a wide receiver because he's still a big person to be playing DB. But if he probably won't play year one, he'll more than likely be redshirted.
Hmm.
I don't foresee a place for him as a freshman.
Yeah.
But after he gets some repetitions, with practice, he'll obviously get to play against some amazing talent at wide receiver. Hopefully that helps him, compete out there in the practice field and improve on those ball skills and making sure he stays in coverage, because his raw athleticism will help him, at the college level without having some skill to play the position.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've been following his recruiting a little bit, and it really came down between Oklahoma and Baylor. Baylor played a big role in his recruitment. And then recently Grinch and Riley and them have really started coming, really cornered him and convinced him and kept him in our own backyard, which is awesome to hear that we're, keeping a guy in our, not letting him leave the state. We've had a few of those in recent years leave to go play at various schools. So, I mean, like you said, I think he's going to be a little more of a project, but he could be playing in year 2, year 3. Granted, we do have a lot of depth in the defensive back room between safety and corner now, which is a nice thing
Yeah.
to think about.
So nice to say now.
Yeah.
After freaking Mike Stoops just seemed like he was trying to ruin the program because Bob left. And Grinch comes in, and I don't know if everyone here follows us on Twitter, but assuming you do, we put up a graphic a week or two ago, and Grinch has completely transformed this defense. So, I think Roe picked the right school right now to be in as a DB.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then the second commit that we've got, they both commit on the same day by a kid in the name of Kip Lewis, who is a linebacker. He's a traditional inside linebacker. He's a 4-star kid. And from what I've seen, and you watch some of the highlights, he's very much a kid with a high motor, and he plays sideline to sideline. What was your initial take on him?
I mean, I saw like 4 minutes of his highlights, and as soon as I saw a couple plays, he just reminded me of K9. He's, like you said, he's sideline to sideline. This guy's got some speed. As soon as he saw the ball come out of the quarterback's hands, he was launching to the direction of where that football was going. If it was incomplete or not, then that's not his problem. He's just there to make sure that ball doesn't get further or get past him, and he did not let it happen. I think he's definitely going to be the guy that'll get to compete redshirt freshman year for some starting snaps, potentially even start, all season, and hopefully help the Sooners get a national championship. But he's very talented, and he's going to impact this defense a lot. And it's definitely something that he definitely seems like a guy that Coach Grinch would want to be part of his program. Speed D is his thing, and this guy just puts his head down and goes after the ball. There's no reason he shouldn't be a Sooner.
Yeah, and I mean, he joins another linebacker commit in Kobe McKenzie out of he's out in Lubbock, and I mean, we've got 2 great linebackers that are committed, and that is, I feel like, is the last missing piece. Now that we're starting to get the defensive backs, now we need some athletic linebackers, which we're starting to get now. It's really, the culture has changed at Oklahoma. Kids are wanting to start to come play for Grinch and them, and it's great to see that we picked up a kid like him who had offers to other Power 5 schools and actually choose us, not just because we were basically the biggest school and the only school that really wanted him.
Right.
So we're finally being able to be a little choosy in who we offer and who we want. But
it's definitely nice. But before we move off this, I just want to say that now that we're starting to get national media attention, we're going to see people like PFF, ESPN, all Fox start covering Oklahoma as if we're somehow now the favorites, and they're going to be saying that they've been on this all along. But like, let's not forget that right after the season started, there were some commentators saying that Oklahoma just gets into the playoffs or just gets close to being in the playoffs just to lose. But this season, I think Grinch and Lincoln are going to be on a mission to prove them wrong. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be the favorite in every single poll. And preseason polls, we should be number 1. We have a returning quarterback. It's only the second time it's happened in Lincoln's career as a OU football coach. The last one was Baker. Baker was a 3-time Heisman finalist, won it. We got to very close, winning almost to the national championship, and that was Lincoln's first year as a head coach, if I remember correctly. So we should definitely have high expectations, and I don't think that they're going to fall short of them this year.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's exciting. I'm in that spot where I don't want to wish summer away, but I'm really excited for fall. So a lot of expectations, it's one of the first years where in recent memory where I truly feel that we have a legitimate shot. I always think we could win it, but deep down, I know odds are we're not. But this year, it's like we've got everything that you would need in a national championship team.
Yeah. Whatever the odds are, if the odds aren't available now, as soon as they are, I'm putting some money on us winning the national championship.
It's plus 800. So you put $100 down, you win 800. So,
I think that's the move.
Those are some pretty good odds. But we'll go ahead and move on to our last topic. We're going to talk a little bit about Oklahoma basketball. Looks like Porter Moser finished filling out his coaching staff with a guy named John Rothstein, and Moser hired him as an associate head coach. He spent the last season with Eric Musselman over at Arkansas, and then before then he was 2 years he was the head coach of UC Riverside and won about 27 games while he was there. From what I've read, it seems like he's a pretty up and coming coach, and he has a lot of experience. Obviously, he was a head coach at one point. Arkansas made a great run into the Elite Eight, I believe, this past season. And I think just looking at the coaching staff around Moser, we've got a couple guys that have been head coaches before, have gone to the tournament before, have done, gone and done it. And obviously Moser has too. And it's exciting. And I think he filled out a pretty good coaching staff. And I have some pretty high expectations for them. Do you have any comments or anything to say about it? I mean, there's not a whole lot to say, but.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. It's nice that that's finally done for Porter.
Mm-hmm.
He finally gets to work with full staff. But like you said, it's great that pretty much everyone on the coaching staff has some experience either in the tournament or with a team or with a coach that's been far in a tournament. So that'll be helpful, especially with when they do individual drills. They all have that. They all know what it takes to get far in the NCAA tournament. So they'll know how to coach these guys up. I think, and we'll touch on it in a second. The biggest thing will be how Porter fills in that last spot in the roster. That last scholarship spot where there's still a lot of recruit prospects out there in the transfer portal, and I think that last player is going to, to kind of be the deciding factor on if we're going to be a team that will scrape into the playoffs or into the NCAA tournament this next year as Porter's first year as the Sooners coach, or if we're going to be, a top 5 seed in our region.
Yeah. And I mean, let's dive right into that. I mean, I just saw it was earlier this week that the transfers that Moser has got or was able to get, they've become official. They've signed the paperwork and they're officially Sooners now, which is good to see. The Grove brothers are in, the kid from Duke and Goldwire, and then Shagwa from SMU came in. And like you said, we've got one scholarship spot left. Obviously, Devion Harmon didn't take up the offer to come back. He is now an Oregon Duck. So he's definitely out of the picture. And I know Jackson Robinson, the kid who was at Texas A&M for a year, he was, a target for Oklahoma before he went to A&M, and he was a target for whenever he entered the transfer portal. Everything I've read, he is leaning towards the Ducks to join Devion Harmon. So, Oregon seems to be reloading and will be a pretty good team next year. Of course, assuming that Devion Harmon's not going to go in the draft, which I do not see him going, at least this year. I'm not saying that he couldn't in the next year or two. But really, what it's going to come down to is a kid by the name of Bryce Thompson. And we've been talking about him. And I've been saying my gut feeling is Oklahoma State, not because I'm a fan, just because I'm, kind of being a realist. And I kind of felt like with Mike Boynton, they had a little bit of an upper hand, stability in the coaching staff, and a little familiarity, because whenever he was a kid coming out of high school, it was Boynton recruiting him, and Lon Kruger was the one recruiting him and not Moser. But from what I've heard and what I've read is that it seems like OU right now is the leader. It's a battle between OU, TU, and OSU for Thompson's services. So it seems like OU's in the lead. Take that as you will. Jose, what are you thinking we would get in a kid like Bryce Thompson?
We're going to get the scoring threat that we desperately need on this roster right now. I think right now all the guys we have, they're good players, nothing against them, but none of them are going to be, the guy that could potentially make it to the NBA to be their number one option. The guy that, can take the ball and either, take on the whole team by himself or at least know to make the right play, just natural natural instincts. I think Bryce Thompson's going to bring that to the Sooners if he does decide to come into Norman, fill in that last scholarship spot. But yeah, I think if he does come to Norman, he will not only right off the bat be the star for the team and be the number one offensive weapon for Porter, but he will also, like I said, just completely turn the expectations for this team. If we don't get Bryce Thompson, we're probably just gonna there won't be very many fans at Lloyd Noble. Just diehard Sooner fans or diehard Sooner basketball fans will be there, as always. But I don't see us, being competitive in the Big 12 without an offensive threat like Bryce Thompson. Even if it's not Bryce, if someone steps up, we need one. If it is Bryce, then I think that we will be competing for the Big 12 championship. It is Porter's first year, so maybe tamper those expectations a little bit. But I don't think it's too far fetched to believe that we would be able to compete for the conference. And with Porter, at the helm, and potentially Bryce Thompson being his number one weapon, we could definitely make a good run in the tournament. Hopefully, Sweet 16 and even, maybe even Final Four. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, we need the scoring threat. And, that's what we lost in Devion Harmon. That's why it would have been nice to have him back. And it seems like Bryce Thompson is leaving Kansas because he wants to be the guy. And we kind of need a guy, to lead. And Harmon was that for us last year. Another thing is I did see Kirk Weff. He's going to Marquette. He's going with Shaka Smart up there. That's just a little tidbit that I saw today. But really, I think he would definitely bring the expectations a lot higher for our program, like you said. And it's just going to be really interesting to see, even if we don't get Thompson, how Moser's going to take all these pieces, all these transfers, and all the guys that were still here and piece them together. You add another kid like Thompson, who's going to be your starting five? I mean, you've got Goldwire, who's a great defensive player. And then is it Gibson? And then I forget the other kid's name, the other defensive-minded guard.
Goldwire? Oh, wait, did he just say Goldwire?
Yeah, not Goldwire, the guy that was there last year for us. Regardless, I mean, we need the offensive player, and it's just going to be interesting how he pieces it together. But it's exciting. I'm thinking that Thompson's decision is going to come out in the next couple of weeks. He did tweet, I think it was about 6 days ago now, that his decision's coming soon. I would imagine by mid-May he's going to make his decision, and I'd like to think it's going to be with Oklahoma now after what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it is or not, I'm not sure. I don't see him going to TU. I would think it's going to be either Oklahoma or OSU. Yeah. So with that, Jose, do you have any final thoughts for this week recapping? And we're finally back on regular schedule.
Yeah, no, I think, like I said with Bryce, I hope Bryce is going to be the turning point for the Sooners if we get him or not. But I think something that will help get him to Oklahoma is getting someone like who's the Grove brother, not
Jacob and Tanner.
If Tanner can, if I'm assuming Tanner really bought into what Moser wants to do in Norman, and if he can, work with Moser to, communicate that message to Bryce, having that, I'm assuming, just like everyone, if you hear something like that coming from a peer and he's enthusiastic about it, he's going to really buy into what Moser wants to do, and hopefully, finally make that decision and officially announce he's going to be in Norman playing for the Sooners this next spring.
Yeah, and I guess also I forgot I was saying we also lost Austin Reeves. So not only did we lose Harmon, we lost Reeves as well. So needing offensive players is definitely why Thompson's up there. It was Harkless. That was the kid that I was thinking of. Harkless is the other defender. So we've got two great defending point guards or guards that we have on the roster. We do have Gibson, who's a great shooter. So if you get Bryce Thompson, we've got two great offensive players, two great defensive players for the guard position, and that would definitely help. So we'll see. But other than that, that's all I've really got. Do you have anything else to add on anything?
That's everything I have. Thanks for watching, everyone. We appreciate it as always. Don't forget to like, subscribe, um, you know, and leave a comment if you have any thoughts. Think we're wrong, just think we're fucking idiots. Let us know because we want to improve, and we want to make sure that this is something that's actually going to be informational and entertaining for you guys.
Definitely. So, all right. Well, we'll see you next week. Unless something big happens, we might have an emergency podcast. You never know.
We'll see.
See you guys.